I'm here with my friend Yensel, and Yensel has found himself caught in just a desperate sort of situation. As we came in, as we moved into the village, the Hewa village of Papua New Guinea here in the year 2000, we started studying their language and culture, and as we studied their culture, we started discovering they're caught in a real problem. The problem is that they believe that all sickness and all death comes from evil spirits that live inside of people. Well, some evil spirits that can cause sickness and death live in the ground and whatever, in the rivers and rocks and trees and stuff. But some of these evil spirits that cause sickness and death, the worst kind, are the ones that live inside of people, ladies and children. They look around and they see somebody and they say, well, that person has an evil spirit inside of them that's causing sickness and death in my family. And so in order to heal their family, they would say, well, then we've got to kill that person that has that evil spirit so that that spirit will quit trying to hurt my family, harm my family, kill my family. And so what has happened is Yensel's married to a wife. Her name is Usam. There was some sick people in the village of Pasife. Some people were sick and close to death, and the village elders got together and they tried to figure out who was guilty, who was causing this sickness, and they chose his wife, Usam. They said, she's got an evil spirit that's eating us, that's causing us to get sick and die. So what did they do? Then they started making demands to her. They said, hey, Usam, you've got to pay pigs and you've got to pay money for the sickness that you're causing. Well, Usam's just a lady. There's nothing wrong or different about her. She shows no symptoms, nothing that you would think she has an evil spirit or something, certainly not that's eating people, causing them to die. But they picked his wife, Usam, and said she's got an evil spirit. And they said, if you don't give us pigs and money, we're going to kill you. Well, they tried to make a payment, but it wasn't satisfactory, and so the village elders have condemned her to death, decided she needs to die. They tried to kill her, but she ran. She ran with her husband. They fled to a different area, an area called Papagi. It's also a Hewa village, but a different dialect. They fled there. They've been in hiding, worried for her life. Recently, or this is the first time I'm hearing this story from his mouth, but I've heard this story from other people. Recently, he left Papagi to come here, and he wanted to bring his wife here, but there's a big river in between, the Lagaipe River Valley, and she couldn't cross it. I think she has a very small infant. She couldn't cross it, so she couldn't come to be with us today. But he's worried about her. He's saying, I want her to come and live with you. I want you to do something to try to save her life. This kind of belief system, this kind of idea that all sickness and death comes from evil spirits has just crippled this culture, crippled the Hewa people. It has caused this belief system that was passed down from their ancestors, has caused every single man to be a murderer, to go and find these people that supposedly have an evil spirit, to hunt them down, to kill them. So every single man you look at has taken part in murdering women and children, innocent women and children. Now it's come back to haunt him. Now his wife's in trouble. Now his life is affected. We are trying so hard to teach these people sickness and death isn't a result of an evil spirit flying around at night. It's not a result of an evil spirit inside of a person that eats you, causing you to get sick and die. We're trying to give them the story of where sickness and death comes from. So how do we talk about sin and death? First, we have to learn their culture, understand what their belief system is, to know how to approach their culture with the truth of the gospel, the truth of the Bible. And so we lived with people like Yensel for years. It took 3 or 4 years to become fluent in their language and also get a real good basic understanding of their culture and how to approach them. So then we decided to teach starting in the book of Genesis, starting at the beginning, and teach who God was, the God, the creator, the one that created everything that they see around them, nature, of course, and also created people. God, therefore, is the owner. He's the one that has the authority to tell us what to do. We have a responsibility to answer to God. And then we talk about the fall, of course, Adam and Eve, and how they decided to reject what God said, disobey God, and how that resulted in death. Death, sin, and the chaos and turmoil that we see in the world around us was a result of disobedience to God. And the Hewa people that have heard this story, they can relate to it right away. They say, yes, Adam and Eve, they messed up, they disobeyed God, and it resulted in chaos. And in our lives, we can see the same thing today. We are completely disobedient to God. We reject Him, don't obey Him in any facet of our lives, and we realize that our lives are just messed up because of it. Where they realize that they're caught in a self-destruct sort of downward spiral they can't get out of. Some people have responded really well to the gospel, have turned to the Lord, asked God to forgive them for their sins based on what Jesus did on the cross. Others, they're confused. They don't get it. They don't understand. The concepts are so foreign, so new, so unique to their way of thinking that they're grappling with it but don't get it. So, man, we would love it if you'd pray for these people, that they would get it, that they would understand the gospel, that they would turn to the Lord, that they would turn from their sins, turn to the Lord for forgiveness, find rest and peace in Him.